places. And so I've got a couple on this review that we can work out together. Just kind of remind you some few things. And number one is one with the fractions. And recall how we did that was, what did we do to solve such a one as this? One way we could do it. Well, one way we could do it is with LCD. Is that what you're thinking? Okay. So our LCD here is, what would it be? Got 8, 3, and 4. 24 would work? All right, so we've got least common denominator. Least common multiple of all those would be 24. And so we take the 24 and multiply it by all the parts. Basically, what we're doing is multiplying both sides by 24. But that's going to in turn mean multiplying all the parts by 24. All right, and so that 24 being 24 over 1, wouldn't that mean on the first one that we cancel the 8 into the 24? And that's going to leave me a 3 times x minus 4. Three times x minus 4. Over here, the 3 cancels into the 24 8 times. And so that'll give me plus an 8x there. And then the 24 and the 4 cancels into the 24 6 times. So that'll give me a 6 times an x minus 1. And then nothing cancels 24 times 2. That's just 48. And so the idea is getting rid of, clearing out the fractions. And this is one way we can do this. All right, and so that then it's just a regular linear equation. Distribute the 3 there, so we have 3x minus 12 plus 8x equals, and then distribute the 6x minus 6 plus 48. And what do we got? 11x on the left side, and 6x, I can combine the constants on the right, so that'd be 42 plus 42. And then just get the x's on one side, subtract the 6x, and add the 12. I'm going to go ahead and do that together. So that gives me 11x minus 6x would be 5x. 12 minus 12 is gone. 6x minus 6x, that's, so 5x equals 54, would it be? And then divide off the 5. Okay? Question? Concern about any of that? Look okay? So far, so good. All right, then. Number 2. Number 2 has, well, this this gets into a little bit of factoring, right? We've got 12x squared minus 27x equals 0. And so one thing when we get to higher powers solving equations, one thing we can look for always is factoring. And I do believe on number 2, factor out, definitely factor out an x, and if we see it, we can even do a 3x, yeah. There's a common factor of 3x, GCF we would say, 3x, off of these two things on the left side. So if I factor off the 3x, what does that leave me in the parentheses? 4x squared minus 9. So far, so good. Now what? Well, I guess there's a couple ways we could continue factoring, but let me go ahead and mention one other thing here right now. It may come up on the next one too, but let's go ahead and set these then. Since we've got them equal to 0, factors equal to 0, we can set individually those equal up 0. All right, well, the first one then we just divide by 3, and we have x equals 0. And then the second one we have a couple of options there. We could continue factoring, but say we don't see the factoring. One of the things that's going to be an important method on this test is our old buddy, the square root method. Let's use it on equation 2 right here, second part. On the square root method, with an x squared equation, square root method works well on ones like this anyway. On the square root method, you just get x squared by itself, so we'd add 9, 4x squared, then would equal 9, and then divide off the 4. And that does give me, then, 4's cancel, x squared equal 9/4. Well, the whole basic idea behind the square root method is then square root both sides. We got the x squared by itself, so if I square root that, that gives me x. But I do have to square root this side. Now, there is a slight little catch on the square root method because there are two answers here. What's the catch? You got to put a plus or minus on the right side here. So we get square root of x squared, like I said, the square root and the square, that cancels out. And so we get plus or minus the square root of 9, which sometimes it will simplify, maybe not other times, but square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 4 is 2. So we wind up with these answers right here. X equals 0, and x equals the plus or minus 3/2. All right? Is that okay? Question on number 2. Yeah, there's, like I said, there's a couple ways you could use some factoring there. Do we have another extra sheet somewhere? Oh, they're there. Yeah, as long as you get those 3 answers, I'm okay with whatever method you use there. All right, we haven't had one of these in a while. We will have most of these things that we're talking about. We will encounter those along the way somewhere or another. And this is another one that we may see later on, so might as well get a shot at it here. This one doesn't have a GCF, notice. So we can't pull out an x or pull out a number. It is an x to the 4th, though. And what do you think about that? Well, the way I look at it is it's a trinomial, and we don't pull out a GCF, but it is a trinomial. One side is 0, and we've got a trinomial on the left. And so trinomials factor into binomials, pair of binomials, if they do factor. And so that's what I'm going to try. Factor up my binomial into my trinomial into binomials, I should say. Now, because it's x to the 4th up front, what does that mean for these two? They've got to be x squareds. Okay, so we've got an x squared and an x squared. That's how we break down the x to the 4th. Now, with the plus 2 on the end and the minus 3 in the middle, is that telling you something? What about a minus 2 and a minus 1? Minus 2 times minus 1 gives you positive 2, and then minus 2 plus a minus 1 gives you minus 3. So do believe that is, if you full that out, that would be the way that factors. All right, so like before, now we set x squared minus 2 equals 0, x squared minus 1 equals 0. And I'm going to use the square root method once again on both of these, add 2 on this one, so we get x squared equals 2. Square root both sides. This side could be plus or minus, though, so it's x plus or minus square root of 2. This one, about the same. Add 1, so we have x squared equals 1. Square root both sides. Plus or minus the right side, so we have x equals plus or minus square root of 1. But that one does simplify. Square root of 1 is 1, so simplify it. So I get four solutions right there. Is this okay? All right, then. Page 2. Any other question? Concern?